Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about a really weird situation. A junior who thinks he's all that. So let's get into it. So the question in question today was a bit of a long-winded one, but I'll try to get through it. Fredrik, I have this junior developer. He's super talented, he's much better than most of my senior developers, and he criticizes and makes fun of all the seniors' code. And as as his manager, I need to make a decision where nobody likes to work with him, but I don't know what to do because he's super talented, right? So yeah, that's pretty much the question. Now, the quick answer to this is that you do your job as the manager, and that means pretty much that your job is to look out for the team, like a group of people, the company or whatever level you are. That is your primary focus to make sure that that works. And you can achieve this in two ways. You either fire the idiot or you set him straight. Now, this thing here, what you are describing, happens. I've never really, this I will admit, is the first time I've ever heard of a junior being this cocky about something. I've never, I would really like to meet this sort of person. I'm just guessing here that he built up this sort of confidence, maybe in competitive programming or in some other fashion. Because the only people I have ever met that has this "I know this better than everybody else" attitude are the sort of people who have some prior experience in something where they feel like they are superior, like they have already achieved a certain level of success at a fairly young age, and they kind of just, they act based on that. This is also extremely common with young salespeople or entrepreneurs who, they make some money from retailing some stuff on the internet or telemarketing or something like that, and all of a sudden they're God's gift to sales, right? This is not uncommon, right? But for programmers, it's more, this is where I think this is a bit extreme, because usually what happens is that there is a code mock, for sure, and the code mock is basically just this person judges the code. They start out like most juniors, they're scared shitless, and then they get confident, and then all of a sudden they start mocking the code because the product is shit. But this is also an inexperience, because the real senior will know that there is no such thing as a perfect code base, because the problem with software development is that you change things over and over and over, and new decisions are made all the time. And you can't just always undo the decisions that you've already made. So unless you're writing every single thing perfect at every step of the way, which is in theory impossible, you will find that some things are not well made. And of course they're going to look really shitty if you look at it from the perspective of the here and now. Because if you look here and now, it looks weird, because you don't understand that there was a time gap of maybe months or years between each of these commits and considerations. But when it comes to someone who is talented and better and so forth, you will have to make the same cost value analysis as any manager who deals with a resource of some sort. I do believe that the best thing that you can do with this junior is to set them straight, pretty much. And what I'm saying here is that you talk to them and you coach them in just actually interacting with humans, because it might be the case that this person is at least open to the idea that treating other people with respect and so forth is something that is of value to them. They're gonna learn it at some point. It's very rare that someone stays to being this sort of cocky character throughout their entire life. It's just a matter of time before they start realizing certain things about their own behavior, I would hope. I've never seen anybody I've met people who aren't all that nice when they're getting a little bit older, but they will gain a perspective at some point. But you as the manager, you have to ask yourself, what the hell are you doing? Because if you're in a position where you feel like this person is valuable enough to damage the relationship with everybody else, like then I would say that you will have an issue yourself right now with indecision. So this is something that this is the hard part about being a boss. You have to make the call. This is the thing that is really tough. Developers really don't like this thing that we call time estimation, where you're forced to say how long something's going to take because you don't really know. And the equivalent in my world of this decision is this thing that you're facing right now, where you have to decide if this person's productivity or value to the company or something like that is high enough to justify their semi-shitty behavior. And hopefully you can, but as I said, like, start off trying to talk to them one-on-one, try to talk to them and like explain, I mean, sit them down in a room and talk to them and say, we're having like that you're experiencing some issues and wonder, like, try to hear them out, try to figure out if there's some underlying problem, be a bit of a psychiatrist or a friend for a little while and try to figure out what's going on. And mention that to them that they are creating disruptions in the workplace and so forth. Because it might just be youth here. It might just be that this person still believes that they are the center of the universe. So they might just need a good talking to. If this does not help, because there's no guarantee that this is going to help, even if you're being super reasonable and so forth, youth is inexperience or life inexperience will still play a factor here. I've met people like this who are at an emotional level immature, even for their age. And in that sort of scenario, as I said, you come back to the fundamental question. Are they so good that they outweigh the happiness of the rest of the company? And I will just say that it is very unlikely, very, very unlikely that that is the case. The idea of it, like, that this person is so great, so amazing that they outweigh like 5-10 other developers is very unlikely. It's, and I mean, if that's the case, I would say that what are the seniors doing? Because unless you're hiring really shitty seniors, it's very unlikely that I mean, then you're basically talking about a junior who is an absolute genius type of, almost fantasy type of character. Because it's highly unlikely that you have some type of super coder that just outproduces everybody else. And if you do, it's just a matter of time before they leave your company anyway, most likely. So in my world, there's a misalignment. It's kind of like sports. Like, if you put a star super player in a team, unless the rest of the team can kind of support them, if the skill gap is too wide, it's actually going to cause problems within the team. So unless that person plays down to everybody else, or everybody else catches up, there's going to always be this churn, misalignment. That's where you get, this idea of diva football players who are stars and so forth within their team, and nobody fucking likes them in the team, and it actually causes pretty big problems within that team. So you have to ask, are they actually worth it? I don't think that that's going to be the case. So I would say get rid of them unless you can solve it in some other fashion. And then I would also strongly suggest to you that you take these learnings, that thing that you learned from this process, and start applying that in your next hire. Because if you feel like you lost somebody who's like more gifted than all your seniors, then perhaps the problem wasn't that this person was like extremely gifted. Maybe the problem was that you have had a weird understanding of what it means to be a senior, or how you actually hire other developers. Maybe you should raise the overall company standards of people when you're hiring somebody. So what I want you to take away from this is that if you deal with such a junior, the first thing that you need to consider is that they are just young or youthful or something like that, and they really just need a talking to. So try to be the friend, try to be the psychiatrist. Sit them down in a relaxed environment and just talk to them and try to just really hear them out and see if there's an underlying issue that you can help them work through. Because that is pretty much one of your responsibilities as the manager or CTO or whatever, right? And if for some reason you can't work through this, then you have to make the call. And this sucks. It really sucks as a boss, because you might like somebody You might think that they're a great person or they might be super productive and so forth, but they are damaging your company. And then they have to go. It doesn't matter if they're a genius, because unless you find that the cost value ratio is in favor of them, then you need to get rid of them. They're just a pain. Even if they're talented, they're just a pain. And it's very unlikely that they're that gifted. I'm just saying. And then you should really reevaluate if the problem is that they're just that good, or the fact that you have hired, like the rest of your staff, might not actually be as good as you thought they were when you were hiring them for the first time. So you might actually need to think about what changes do I have to make to the company hiring process and our internal processes to raise the experience level of everybody in that company. Have a great day.